The year 2025. Unemployment among young technical specialists aged 20 to 30 has increased by almost 3 percentage points since the beginning of the year. This is noticeably higher than for their peers in other professions and for technical workers overall. The culprit? Artificial intelligence. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Midjourney. These tools are no longer toys. They write code, create designs, analyze data, answer customers, and they do it faster, cheaper, without breaks and without vacations. Companies notice. College graduates cannot find jobs. Experienced specialists are losing positions. The question is no longer, will artificial intelligence replace workers? The question is, how many and when? Today we will examine 3 things. Which jobs will disappear first? How many people will lose their jobs? What society should do? And why a basic income may be the only solution. The scale of the threat. Innovations related to artificial intelligence could displace 6 to 7% of the United States workforce if artificial intelligence is widely adopted. 6 to 7% is 9 to 11 million jobs in the United States. Worldwide, forecasts indicate that artificial intelligence could potentially replace around 800 million jobs globally by the year 2030. 800 million, almost 1/3 of the global workforce. But this is not an instant apocalypse. In the year 2024, the growth of artificial intelligence created thousands of jobs. By estimates, more than 8,900 employees were added to the United States economy to develop, train, and operate artificial intelligence models. In addition, the expansion of data centers by artificial intelligence companies caused a surge in construction activity, around 110,000 construction jobs in the year 2024. Artificial intelligence created approximately 119,900 jobs in the year 2024. At the same time, about 12,700 jobs were lost due to artificial intelligence in the year 2024, which represents just 0.1% of all layoffs that year. For now, new jobs exceed losses. But this is temporary. Why the situation will change? Artificial intelligence is currently at an early stage. ChatGPT appeared in November 2022, just 3 years ago. Companies are still learning how to use it, but the pace of development is exponential. GPT-3 to GPT-4 to GPT-4.0-01. Each version is smarter, faster, and cheaper. Goldman Sachs research estimates that unemployment will increase by 0.5 percentage point during the transition to artificial intelligence as displaced workers search for new positions. 0.5 percentage point is 800,000 people in the United States. And this is the optimistic scenario. Who is under threat? Professions at risk. Professions with a high risk of displacement by artificial intelligence include programmers, accountants and auditors, legal and administrative assistants, and customer service representatives. High risk, meaning more than half of tasks can be automated. Programmers, because artificial intelligence writes code faster than humans. Accountants, because artificial intelligence analyzes finances and prepares reports. Legal assistants, because artificial intelligence reviews contracts and searches for precedents. Customer service, because chatbots replace operators. Administrators, because artificial intelligence schedules meetings and manages documents. Translators, because GPT-4 translates better than most people. Copywriters, because artificial intelligence writes advertisements, articles, and email campaigns. Graphic designers, because Midjourney and DALL-E create images. Data analysts, because artificial intelligence processes data and builds models. Medium risk, meaning roughly 1/4 to 1/2 of tasks. Teachers, where artificial intelligence tutors assist but do not fully replace. Doctors, where artificial intelligence diagnostics assist but final decisions remain with humans. Engineers, where artificial intelligence helps design but does not replace. Marketers, where artificial intelligence analyzes data but strategy remains human. Low risk, meaning less than 1/4 of tasks. Nurses and caregivers, due to physical contact and empathy. Builders, plumbers, electricians, due to physical labor. Hairdressers and cosmetologists, due to personal contact. Psychologists, due to deep empathy. The paradox, technical workers suffer the most. Computer and mathematical professions, predictably among the most exposed to artificial intelligence with a rate of around 80%, have shown some of the steepest increases in unemployment. Programmers are the first to lose jobs due to artificial intelligence. The irony is that those who created artificial intelligence are the first to be displaced by it. Why? Artificial intelligence excels at programming tasks, writing code, debugging documentation. Junior developers become unnecessary. Companies hire less and lay off more. Professions that adopted generative artificial intelligence most intensively showed the largest increase in unemployment, with a correlation coefficient of 0.57. The more a profession uses artificial intelligence, the more unemployment grows in it. The automation paradox. Temporary unemployment or permanent. Optimists say that technology has always created more jobs than it destroyed. Horses were replaced by cars, but drivers appeared. Weavers lost jobs, but engineers appeared. Temporary unemployment caused by the adoption of labor-saving technologies typically increases the unemployment rate in the United States by 0.3 percentage points for each 1 percentage point increase in productivity driven by technology. However, the effect is usually fleeting. Such workforce displacement typically disappears within 2 years. 2 years, and the labor market adapts. New professions emerge, people retrain, but artificial intelligence is not the steam engine. Previous technologies automated physical labor. Artificial intelligence automates cognitive labor. A factory worker who loses a job due to a robot can retrain as a driver, administrator, or analyst. But if all these professions are also automated, where can one retrain? Current artificial intelligence technologies have the potential to automate tasks performed by approximately 70% of the workforce. As a result, regions such as Europe and the United States could face an increase in unemployment of up to 12 million if affected workers do not undergo training and skill development to adapt to changing market demands. 70% of the workforce at risk, 12 million unemployed in Europe and the United States alone. Will retraining help? Only if there is somewhere to retrain into. If artificial intelligence automates most cognitive tasks, retraining becomes meaningless. Scenario: the year 2030. Artificial intelligence has reached a level where it automates 40 to 50% of current jobs. Unemployment in developed countries is 15 to 20%. Millions of people are without work. What happens to the economy? Problem 1, consumer demand collapses. Capitalism works like this. People work, receive wages, spend money, companies sell goods, hire workers. But if people do not work, there are no wages, they do not spend money, companies do not sell, the economy collapses. Artificial intelligence increases productivity. Companies produce more goods with fewer workers. But who buys the goods if people have no money? This is called the automation paradox. Companies automate to reduce costs. But by reducing labor costs, they destroy their own customers. Problem 2, social instability. Unemployment generates despair. Despair generates crime, drug addiction, suicides, political extremism. History shows that mass unemployment leads to revolutions, wars, and the collapse of governments. Problem 3, concentration of wealth. Artificial intelligence belongs to companies. Profits from artificial intelligence go to shareholders. Workers receive nothing. The economic forecast is just as staggering. The estimated economic impact of artificial intelligence will reach a colossal $15.7 trillion by the year 2030. $15.7 trillion of wealth. But it will go to the owners of technology, not to workers. Inequality will explode. 1% will own an even larger share of wealth. 99% will fight for crumbs. Traditional solutions do not work. Solution 1, retraining. Governments say, train people in new skills. But what skills? If artificial intelligence automates programming, accounting, design, marketing, data analysis, what remains? Physical labor? That too is being automated by robots, although more slowly. Creativity? Artificial intelligence creates art, music, texts. Solution 2, create new jobs. Artificial intelligence will create new professions that we do not yet know. Perhaps. But will it be enough? If artificial intelligence replaces 800 million workers, will it create 800 million new jobs? History says no. Automation of agriculture. Reduced employment from 90% in the 1800s to 2% today. But industrialization created new jobs in factories. Automation of factories reduced industrial employment. But the service sector grew. Automation of services? There is nowhere left to move. This is the final frontier. Solution 3, ban artificial intelligence. Impossible. The technology is global. If one country bans it, others will adopt it and overtake. In addition, artificial intelligence brings enormous benefits: medical discoveries, scientific progress, increased efficiency. One solution remains: to rethink the relationship between work and survival. For centuries, work equaled survival. If you do not work, you starve. But if machines produce everything, why require people to work in order to survive? Wealth exists. It is created by artificial intelligence and robots. The question is how to distribute it. The answer: universal basic income. What is universal basic income? Universal basic income is regular, unconditional cash payments made to all citizens, regardless of their employment status or income level. The key principles are the following. It is universal, meaning everyone receives it, both rich and poor. It is unconditional, meaning it does not require work, job searching, or proof of need. It is regular, meaning it is paid monthly. It is monetary, meaning it is cash, not vouchers, and not services. An example is $1,000 per month to every adult citizen, regardless of whether a person works or not. The logic of universal basic income in the age of artificial intelligence is straightforward. If artificial intelligence creates wealth but displaces workers, universal basic income redistributes that wealth. Artificial intelligence produces $15 trillion of additional value. Part of this, through taxes on companies or robots, goes to universal basic income. All citizens receive a share. This solves three problems. Consumer demand is preserved because people have money and buy goods. Social stability is maintained because people do not starve and there is less despair and crime. Inequality is reduced because wealth is distributed more broadly. Does it work? Evidence from pilot programs. Alaska has operated a universal basic income-like system for more than 40 years. The Alaska Permanent Fund Dividend, operating since 1982, demonstrates long-term effects of a program similar to universal basic income. Studies showed a neutral impact on full-time employment, with reductions balanced by job creation from increased spending and a 17% increase in part-time employment. People did not stop working. Full-time employment did not decline. Part-time employment increased, providing more flexibility. In Stockton, California, a pilot program showed that recipients actually increased full-time employment compared to non-recipients. $500 per month resulted in more people finding full-time jobs. The reason was that the money allowed people to search for better jobs instead of taking the first available option. The OpenAI experiment, funded by Sam Altman and OpenAI, is arguably the most significant universal basic income experiment in United States history due to its scale and rigorous design. It provided $1,000 per month to 1,000 low-income participants in Texas and Illinois for 3 years. The results showed about a 2% reduction in work, which amounts to roughly 15 minutes less work per day. This is equivalent to 8 days of paid vacation per year and still places the United States below other developed countries. A 2% reduction in work is negligible. People worked almost as much as before. In Finland, the experiment increased trust in government, institutions, and fellow citizens, and also improved mental health and reduced stress. In Canada, in the 1970s, researchers recorded an 8.5% reduction in hospitalizations, a 15% reduction in overall crime, and a 37% reduction in domestic violence. Universal basic income improves health and reduces crime. In Kenya, the largest universal basic income experiment in the world showed that for the poorest, one large lump sum can last a long time, and that long-term universal basic income also looks promising. The largest experiment in Kenya, funded by Give Directly, significantly boosted entrepreneurship and local economies. People used the money to create businesses rather than remain idle. The conclusion from these experiments is clear. Universal basic income does not make people lazy. Most continue to work. Those who reduce work are primarily parents of newborns, students, and people retraining. Universal basic income provides freedom of choice rather than encouraging laziness. How can universal basic income be financed? The number one question is where the money comes from. The first source is a tax on robots or automation. In 2017, before the current artificial intelligence boom, Bill Gates proposed a robot tax. His proposal was that companies replacing human workers with automation should pay taxes on those robots at levels comparable to the people they displace. If a company lays off a worker with a salary of $50,000 and replaces that worker with artificial intelligence, it pays a tax equivalent to the income tax on $50,000. These taxes are used to finance universal basic income. The second source is higher taxes on capital. Analysis shows that increasing the share of government revenue from artificial intelligence capital, for example, through profit taxation, from the current 15% to approximately 33% halves, the required artificial intelligence capability threshold needed to achieve universal basic income, reducing it to about 3 times current automation productivity. Raising taxes on artificial intelligence company profits from 15% to 33% makes universal basic income financeable earlier and more easily. The third source is redistribution of existing programs. The United States spends trillions on welfare, Social Security, and unemployment benefits. Combining these programs into universal basic income means that part of the funding already exists. How much does universal basic income cost? Using current United States economic parameters analysis shows that even in a conservative scenario where no new tasks or jobs emerge, artificial intelligence systems would need to reach only 5 to 7 times today's automation productivity to finance universal basic income at 11% of gross domestic product. 11% of United States gross domestic product is approximately $2.5 trillion per year. The population of the United States is 330 million, of whom 250 million are adults. $2.5 trillion divided by 250 million equals $10,000 per person per year, or $833 per month. This is not luxury, but it is enough for basic survival. According to analysis, artificial intelligence could reach or exceed the required capability threshold for universal basic income sometime between the early 2030s and the middle of the century, depending on the pace of progress. With rapid progress, defined as doubling artificial intelligence capability every year, this could occur in the year 2028. With moderate progress, doubling every 2 years in the year 2031. With slow progress between the years 2038 and 2052, universal basic income becomes financeable within the next 5 to 10 years if artificial intelligence continues to develop. Criticism of universal basic income. The first criticism is that people will stop working. The data show this is not true. The reduction in work is minimal, around 2%. The second criticism is that inflation will explode. Inflation is not an automatic result of universal basic income. If production grows due to artificial intelligence, the supply of goods increases. Universal basic income increases demand, but supply also grows. In addition, if universal basic income is financed through taxes rather than money printing, it is redistribution rather than the creation of new money. The third criticism is that it is too expensive. As shown above with the development of artificial intelligence, universal basic income becomes financeable through taxes on automation and artificial intelligence profits. Are there alternatives to universal basic income? One alternative is a job guarantee. The government guarantees a job for everyone and pays a minimum wage for public works. The problem is that if there is no useful work, this becomes meaningless work for the sake of work. Anthropologist David Graeber argued that much of modern employment is already socially useless and exists only for political stability. Another alternative is a negative income tax. If income falls below a threshold, the government tops it up. The effect is similar to universal basic income, but only for the poor. The problem is stigma. People are ashamed to receive assistance, and there is bureaucracy in determining who is deserving. Universal basic income is universal. Everyone receives it, with no shame. The final thought is that we are on the verge of a choice. Artificial intelligence is not a distant future. It is here, now. Unemployment among technical specialists is rising. Companies are adopting artificial intelligence at an accelerated pace. In 5 to 10 years, millions will lose their jobs. In 15 to 20 years, tens of millions will. Society has two paths. The first path is to do nothing and let the market sort it out. The result is mass unemployment, poverty, social unrest, political chaos, and possibly revolutions or wars. The second path is to implement universal basic income, to rethink the economy, and to recognize that if machines create wealth, people should receive it even without work. Universal basic income is not a utopia. It is a pragmatic solution to an economic problem created by technology. The question is not whether universal basic income is needed. The question is when it will be implemented, before catastrophe or after. History shows that societies that adapt to technology prosper, while those that resist suffer. Artificial intelligence is inevitable. Automation is inevitable. The only choice we have is how to distribute the wealth they create. Universal basic income is not generosity. It is the survival of capitalism in the age of artificial intelligence.